Celebrated games ever released, a series that set the benchmark for first-person shooters, one of the most prolific modding communities of all time, industry leaders in artificial intelligence, visual design, physics, character design, audio, narrative and gameplay, and a piece of software that changed the way we buy games forever. Today, Valve software are synonymous with innovation and quality, but there would never have been any Portal, Team Fortress 2, Left 4 Dead, Counter-Strike or Steam if there hadn't first been Half-Life.
On this, the Season 2 premiere of Escape from Mount Stupid, we revisit Black Mesa and City 17 to remind ourselves how a crowbar-wielding theoretical physicist changed the world of first-person shooters forever. Twice.
Valve Software was founded by longtime Microsoft employees Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington. Newell, a Harvard dropout, had spent 13 years at the company, producing the first 3 versions of Windows. Over the years, he and Harrington became so-called Microsoft millionaires, and inspired by Michael Abrash, who left the Big M to work on Quake with id Software, they left to found Valve in 1996. Abrash himself would eventually join Valve in 2011, but not before helping them secure a license to the Quake engine. This would be the backbone of their first game, a sci-fi first-person shooter set in a secret American research and development lab. Harrington would act as programming lead on the project, his only for Valve, and it would be named after the time required for half of a sample to undergo radioactive decay.
Good morning, and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System.
Right from the off, it was clear Half-Life wasn't going to subscribe to the rules of its genre peers. Instead of sending you straight into the action, it began with a 5-minute train sequence set during your character's commute to work. And the protagonist wasn't a soldier, ninja or space marine, he was white-collar Gordon Freeman, an MIT graduate and theoretical physicist. Hardly everyone's typical hero then. The significance of this sequence can't be underestimated. It fills in backstory and serves as a safe zone for the player to get to grips with the game's controls without the need for a ham-fisted tutorial. You know, those bits modern games have that treat you like a 5-year-old. Jump here, duck here, shoot this guy, press the button. But more importantly, it allowed you time alone with Black Mesa, striking an atmosphere, setting the mood, showing the scale of the facility and teaching the player that visually exploring the environment is important. This continues after you've reached your destination, Sector C Test Labs.
Morning, Mr. Freeman. Looks like you're running late.
Colleagues fill you in on the day's proceedings, you explore the office, engage in small talk, step into your hazard suit, and if you choose, act like a complete jerk.
My God, what are you doing? Come on, Gordon. You trying to get me into trouble?
While most games would be itching to put a gun in your hand at this stage, Half-Life was more interested in immersing you in the world of Black Mesa, giving you friends, colleagues and workflow, giving you something to care about, something to lose, showing you the norm so that when it all goes tits up, the chaos feels real. And tits up it does go. A mysterious suited man instructs the science team, who in turn instruct you to insert an undefined sample into the anti-mass spectrometer, and it all goes wrong. This causes a resonance cascade, opening a portal to a different world through which bunches of alien nasties pour through. Initially, at least, your job is simply to survive.
Yeah, we might stand a better chance if we team up.
You could spend hours explaining every single gameplay nuance in Half-Life, but the crux of the Half-Life experience is delivering the joy of discovery to the player by playing around with the game's variables.
So the game has a variety of weaponry, locations, enemies and mechanics, but it's the diversity and the compelling results of combining them in new and interesting ways that creates satisfying gameplay. As you make your way through Black Mesa, you're continuously drip-fed information about the rules of the game world. You can get scientists to follow you and open doors. Security guards will jump into any firefight. Platforming is essential to finding a solution.
Headcrabs leap about 10 feet, but pause for a couple of seconds between each jump. Bah!
The crowbar is an effective melee weapon. Water makes you slide around. Vortigaunts charge for 2 seconds before firing, but they will always hit you in line of sight. Hound eyes have short-range defensive attacks, but are usually found in packs. Trip mines hurt, zombies are slow, and so on.
Half-Life arms you with all this information and then changes up variables in the game world, forcing you to think up new tactics.
Like, for instance, sticking laser-activated turrets in an area with a water spill, putting hound eyes in places littered with exploding barrels, having a snark nest inside of a tight ventilation shaft, and sticking trip mines to the side of destructible crates or in areas full of headcrabs. These problems force the player to think about new solutions, and it's these solutions that provide the joy of discovery, and there's little more in game design more powerful than that. Even better, these tactics can usually be adopted by the player in battle, and Half-Life does an excellent job of teaching and subtly reminding you of your options.
As analytical as I'm getting about all this, it's worth mentioning that Half-Life is frequently hilarious too, and contains some of that rich dark comedy we see in later games, such as Portal and Team Fortress 2.
Over the course of the story, you'll see top scientists acting insanely stupid and being killed in some of the most horrible ways imaginable. There's one sequence where you enter an elevator shaft and see this guy hanging from a ladder for dear life. As you frantically scramble up the tight ledges of the shaft, he calls out for help. You climb and jump as fast as you can to get there in time, and if you do, well, he loses his grip and plummets to his death anyway.
While a lot of games would do like a press A to save scientist bit and reward you with a power-up or an achievement, Valve just killed the poor bastard.
In fact, a large portion of the experience is spent navigating the environment like this, running, jumping, pushing crates, manipulating physics, basically first-person platforming. Over the course of the game, you'll become so familiar with the abilities and limitations of your physical form that you rarely have to think before trying a jump, vaulting over cover, or diving to safety.
Half-Life really is a masterclass in game design. Every single environment is littered with memorable moments, and even run-of-the-mill action is rewarding.
One example of this is a seemingly innocuous turret sequence that happens during surface tension. So you wander through a tunnel and come across a machine gun turret placed at the bottom of a hill leading up to an open area. Visually, you're immediately shown where the threat is, this raised rectangular area in front of you here, and right on cue a load of vortigons start spawning into the area.
Turret sequences in most games are usually just stuck in there to break up the regular gameplay.
You fire at the guys you think are hurting you the most, usually the ones closest, but you don't really know if you're playing it right until you get to the end and you've survived. The experience itself is unsatisfying, and the feeling of accomplishment at the end is minimal. Earlier in Half-Life, you thought that the vortigon's only power will always hit you in line of sight, regardless of distance. Usually you'd find cover to block these attacks, but this long tunnel doesn't have any. However, they do have a weakness. Their attack needs to be charged, and after hours of killing these bastards, you know the length, sound, and animation of this attack like the back of your hand. So instead of firing wildly into the pack like our modern warfare friend, you evaluate and recognize which fort is closest to firing and pick them off in the correct order. Like whack-a-mole, you settle in and find a rhythm as they spawn in faster and faster. Each individual kill is satisfying because not only is your shooting accurate, but you've outsmarted them too.
It's also an incredibly well-paced game, and as you make your way through the laboratories all the way to the surface, you learn of the government's secret plan to erase Black Mesa from history along with all of its staff using US Army Marines.
These guys are hardly cannon fodder either, as they work together to flank, grenade, suppress and rush you. During the game, you'll make your way through a blast pit encasing a beast who can only detect you using sound, forcing you to crawl and use grenades to distract him. You'll hunt an Ichthyosaur, outsmart a Gargantua, and make your way across the base using an underground rail line. You'll jump, swim, get captured, escape death, and make your way through a residue processing plant to battle helicopters in an open landscape. You'll find yourself dodging tank and sniper fire and arriving in the middle of battles already waging. As the military struggle to deal with the alien invasion and begin to pull out, you'll uncover secret weapons and turn alien tools against their masters. Eventually, with the help of the Lambda scientists, you'll uncover the source of these portals and transport to an alien world with a whole new set of gameplay rules to kill Ninalanth, a sort of massive floating baby.
In the end, you're confronted by G-Man, the same G-Man who gave your colleagues the sample in the test chamber, the same G-Man you've noticed time and time again during the game.
He explains that his employers, those presumably responsible for setting the game's events in motion, were impressed by Gordon and wished to use his talents again. He gives you a decision: to enter a portal and be called upon another time, or to refuse and face certain death.
Wisely done, Mr. Freeman. I will see you up ahead.